Hello, everyone! Welcome back to Geekvolution 0 Hour. It's week 5. I'm Captain Logan. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us live viewers, and thanks for watching this after the fact if you're doing that. Be sure and check out the Bloochat if you'd like to chat with each other, your fellow compatriots, as you're watching the show. And please only use the chat box if you're watching live, of course. The chat, I mean, you can do this after the fact, but there won't be anyone there. You can use the chat box on YouTube, please, only to give us questions and comments about news stuff and things happening in pop culture throughout the show. Let me introduce my fellow co-hosts. First of all, back from the grave, it's Dan Torrey.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
And ready to make the magic happen, it's Jackson Rasco.
Howdy, y'all.
And more comfortable than anyone else on the internet, it's Steve back to you.
I have so many pillows.
Brown Couch Steve.
We may have a couple other panelists later on in the evening. Well, one other. We thought Eric might make the show, but it turns out he's not near his computer. So why don't we go ahead and jump right into things, shall we? For the next hour, maybe a little bit longer than that, we'll be talking about developments in comic book, superhero, science fiction, and other popular culture from the last week. Oh, and there goes Steve. Steve is so comfortable, he's just done. We had a lot of developments last week, a lot of interesting things to talk about, so we will make sure and bring up as many things throughout the show as we can, and if there's anything that you want to make sure that we get to early or something you think we might not cover, be sure to put those in the comments, and Jackson Rasco will make sure and bring those up for us throughout the show. At the end of the program, we'll have the Ask Us Anything segment, and there you can ask us stuff that's not about news. Anything you want to, within reason. Okay, so let's start, as we always do, with a trivia question, and tonight's trivia question, as I have been doing for the month of May, because it's Powerpuff Month here on Geekvolution, is a Powerpuff Girls related question, and this is a thing that I actually think is possible that nobody watching live will actually know the answer to, but I thought I would ask it because I thought it would be interesting to see what someone would throw out, and there are actually a whole lot of different possibilities, but if you don't know this movie, you may not know any of these. The question tonight, again, Powerpuff related, is name one of the wannabe Mojo Jojos that Mojo Jojo created out of the primates from the zoo with Chemical X in the Powerpuff Girls movie. So in the third act, there is a whole bunch of different versions of Mojo Jojo, and they all have names and they all announce themselves as different names, and there are like 9 or 10 or 11 of them. Name one of those, and Rasco, I'm sending you the list of them right now.
Okay.
So if any of our viewers happen to get this, it needs to be one of those names, Rasco. Okay. So anytime during the show, or I said anytime, try to answer it now, and the first person to get that right, at the end of the show, we will name that person, and that person will get to give us the question of the evening, starting our show off next time, and we'll be doing the question of the evening here in a minute from last week. Let's go ahead and go on now to the comment of the week, and this week's comment of the week is from Thomas Anderson, who used to go by Rockman LP. He was one of the contestants on Who Reviews the Reviewers 2 seasons ago, and Thomas Anderson wrote a comment on the Captain's Log Star Trek Beyond trailer video, and he writes, "Riker must be jumpy on the bridge. Everyone's always saying fire at will." And that's a joke I've been making for years, and I can't believe that fire at will has never been a gag that's been in Star Trek. Steve wrote that. I gave you that one and told me I should use that for comment of the week. I thought it was pretty funny. Steve, can you believe that throughout TNG, nobody ever is like, hey, wait a minute, that's your name. That might make somebody think about pulling out a phaser and shooting you in the face.
Got that cliffhanger with Best of Both Worlds. We needed him to say fire dramatically because he's constantly getting shot at.
So that's the comment of the week, our question of the evening, and this is a great one. Comes from Hawkflame, and Flockflame. Hawkflame asks, which fictional character would you most and least like to have as a roommate? any fictional character, apparently doesn't have to be comic book at all, a fictional character that you would most or least like to have as a roommate. Let's do the likes first so that we all have a chance to kind of noodle this and think about it, because I think like would probably be easiest. I imagine some of our favorite characters might be people that we might want to room with, or maybe not. Let's begin with Dan. Let's put Dan on the hot seat because Dan hasn't been here in the last few weeks. Dan, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What would a fictional character that you would like to have as a roommate?
Maybe Yoda, because he'd give really good advice. Just have the guidance of your roommate Yoda all the time. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be funny if you were both really busy and you never saw each other?
Yeah, I mean, he does do a lot of meditating, so maybe he wouldn't be a good roommate because he would never want to be disturbed. I don't know.
Yeah, like you try to go into his room, you'd be like, I really need some advice. He's like, leave me alone, I'm meditating. You're like, well, you're useless.
Especially if he's prequel Yoda, because then he'll just say platitudes that don't mean anything to you.
Yeah, he'll just throw out nonsense. You'd be like, wait, if I used that, I wouldn't even know what I would be doing. Like, I don't even know what that would be. You're like, you're a fortune cookie.
Yeah.
Or you're like, that's not advice, Yoda. That's more like an advisory statement.
Yeah. So are we doing the likes first and then the dislikes after? Is that how we're doing?
Yeah, we'll do the likes first. Steve, who is somebody that you would want to room with?
Probably Tim Drake, because we're the same person. Like, there would be nothing about him or I that we disagree about, so it would just be me and Tim being me and Tim constantly.
What do you think, Jackson Rasco?
I think that I would want to be a roommate with, okay, now this may sound like a terrible answer because this character has been very annoying recently on her show, but Felicity from Arrow, she can do pretty much anything on the internet. Anything. Like, just random things that you wouldn't even think are possible, she can accomplish them on the internet. If you had her as your roommate, you could get things that you want to happen by just asking her to do them. So I'm going to pick Felicity from Arrow.
Hey, and here comes Lo direct from the airport. Hi, Lo.
Captain America Civil War is happening outside as she speaks.
She's like, and behind me is Giant Man. Lo, we can't hear you unless you just haven't said anything yet.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're not. There she goes. Hi, Lo. There might be a ton of lag. I'm not sure.
Was there lag, or did Cap freeze up? I couldn't tell.
Oh, are we having that nonsense again? Wonderful! Cool. All right, cool. I love being useless on my own show. It's wonderful.
Now the audio, at least for me, everyone's audio is out of sync with their visuals. So I can't, like, watch you and listen. I have to go on another tab.
I'd love folks to tell us if this has been an issue with other live Google Plus shows you've seen lately, because the last week and a half or so, all of our shows have been like this, and we've been having an impossible time getting into a rhythm. I keep feeling like I'm saying things and nobody's responding, or there's a long time before anything happens, and I keep going, oh, was that not interesting or amusing? And then I don't think, and then sometimes people just didn't even hear anything that I said, so that becomes a problem. I'm just waiting for everybody to catch up. It's cool. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if Lo's gonna be able to talk to us. She's got her microphone off right now for some reason, so I don't. We can't hear you, Lo. Lo's trying to talk. Okay. I'll go ahead and give my person that I would want to room with real quick. I would go with, and for me, this is, I think, the definitive answer. I would go with Thracker Zog from The Tick, because Thracker Zog might be a giant, gelatinous, evil creature from another dimension that wants to take over our dimension, but he has the best manners ever, and one of his big things is that he cares about having a good roommate relationship with his roommate when he's living in apartment 14B and he came from dimension 14B. He has a wonderful speech about how important it is to be a good roommate, and he gets he gets angry when his, and see, I wouldn't do this. I don't think I would feel the wrath of Thrakkerzog when his roommate is doing things that is, you know, unkind and not very fair to Thrakkerzog. And he talks about, oh, is that Gabe? I think I saw Gabe.
Wait.
He keeps
We hear
Did I fix my microphone?
cameos. Yeah, we hear you, Lo. Hi.
Okay. He was helping me.
But yeah, Thrakkerzog has this great speech where he says, "This is my side of the living room, and that is your side of the living room, and must you drink straight out of the milk carton? It's disgusting." Curious, Lo, if you can hear us, name a fictional character that you think would be great to have as a roommate. Okay, this may not work.
Ooh,
Most
I didn't have
freezing up a lot.
stream earlier.
Well,
Am I? Because you guys are fine for me. Alright.
I also
well,
can't tell if it's just me or not.
it might not work.
Is everybody else hear me okay?
You guys can't hear me at all? You guys can't hear me at all?
We can. Yeah, Lo, we can now.
Okay. Because it's not freezing. But I guess it's freezing again.
This
It's
connection is not
responding.
going to be good enough, Lo. Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and do the badge real quick so we can move. Yeah, I'm sorry, Lo. We'll see you later. Let's go ahead and do the badge real quick so we can get on with our show. Hey, Dan, you got a lot of time to think of a really horrible roommate. Who's your horrible roommate?
I'd probably choose Link from The Legend of Zelda because he only speaks in grunts, so it would be hard to communicate with him. And it's really hard to live with someone that you can't communicate with. Like, if you'd be like, "Did you do the dishes?" and you'd be like, "Yeah!" You know, you couldn't live with that person. It'd be bad.
That's a great answer. What do you think, Rasco?
I'm gonna say the Thing because he's so giant and rocky, and like he's gotta like break stuff. Like I just don't think it's possible to live with a giant rock monster.
What do you think, Steve?
I'd probably go with Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. I just feel like that guy is too out there and murderous and unpredictable that I just wouldn't be comfortable living with him.
I'm gonna go with Illyria from Angel.
I love Illyria.
I like her too, but I think she'd be really hard to live with. If you know Angel, you'll know why I said that. I'm not even gonna explain that answer. I just think that'd be really hard to, especially if I knew Fred from before, because that would just be weird. Like if you knew a person and then you were rooming with the body of a person you had been good friends with, but is actually like this ancient person from this ancient god from centuries before that looks at you like an ant. Like I think that's the thing. I guess I am explaining. I wouldn't want to live with someone who looks at me as an ant. Okay, and now let's move on, shall we, to the weekend box office. You guys, the Angry Birds movie made a lot more money than I expected it to. $39 million at the box office first week. Civil War, $33 million and that was on its third week, so it's still chugging along nicely. Neighbors 2, $21 million, which Rasco went to because he couldn't get in to see The Nice Guys.
But then I saw The Nice Guys afterwards.
Oh, okay. Well, The Nice Guys only made $11 million in its first week, tying with The Jungle Book in the fifth spot, which also made $11 million, but in its sixth week. That thing has had legs like nobody's business. So yeah, interesting interesting weekend this last weekend. How do you guys feel about where Civil War is? About tracking about the way you would have expected it to? It's broken the $1 billion mark worldwide now.
I'm seeing a lot of think pieces on Civil War's box office, and apparently it's been confirming for people that Marvel financially can't make a bad movie. Like, of course, quality-wise it varies, but financially speaking, almost all of their last 3 or 4 movies have tracked exactly as predicted, if not more so. So for Civil War to break $1 billion for them is exactly what they wanted to happen, and it happened. At exactly the time they said it was going to happen, and it happened. I think it just speaks to how much Marvel's dominated the market.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything Steve said.
Me too. Man, I sure wish we were all in the same room. Opening this week, we've got X-Men Apocalypse, which, of course, I'm still super excited about, regardless of some early negative reviews and some conflicting. It seems to be not like angrily polarizing yet, at least from people I'm seeing from Europe and stuff. But just some people are really enjoying it and some people really aren't. Importantly, to me, Shades at Night really liked it, and he is, of course, really picky about his X-Men movies, and that tells me that Cyclops probably didn't get shafted. At least I hope not.
I think a lot of people. I mean, I haven't seen the movie yet, so maybe my opinion will change. But I feel like a lot of people, obviously had sky high expectations for the movie after how good Days of Future Past was, and I would imagine it's probably just not as good as a movie as that one was, which is, it could still be really fun and enjoyable, probably around the level of enjoyment as like X1 or something like that.
Yeah, Dan, that's a really good point. That's a hard movie to top, and I mean they set the bar really, really high, which they needed to do to move forward, and it's great that happened. But that's those are big shoes to fill. That's an act you don't want to follow.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm just really hoping that they use this movie to establish the new cast of the classic X-Men team, like with Jean Grey, Cyclops, Nightcrawler. Hopefully they bring the Colossus that was introduced in Deadpool onto the team if he doesn't join X-Force eventually, and Storm, all those characters. I just want to see new versions of the Claremont classic X-Men team together doing stuff in movies. I'm just excited to see that in general. So.
Of course, Dan, that's interesting because I don't know when we'll be able to introduce Colossus, given this timeline thing now. And we know that the next X-Men movie is going to be set in the 90s, so it'd be cool if he was brought on as a kid then.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how old he's supposed to be in Deadpool. That's a good point.
It's really ambiguous. Yeah, you can't. And of course, he's this big, he's this big Metallica guy, and he never, like powers down or anything. So.
Yeah, and of course, I don't know, because I haven't watched X2 in a while, isn't it a little bit wonky anyway, continuity-wise, that there's a full-grown Colossus in Deadpool? Because there's a Colossus in X2, and he's younger, isn't he?
Well, in X3, too, yeah.
Yeah. So... That already doesn't make any sense.
No, it does. It already doesn't make sense, and that's what I'm saying is that they're clearly forgetting on purpose certain characters from certain movies that they've done already and say we're going to pave over, and it's kind of the Star Trek 09 thing where we had a catalyst that set up that established this new thing, but then we can do anything we want to, even though what happened that changed the universe couldn't have made that happen. Like, there was already a Jubilee also, but like 30 years after this, or at least 2025. So they're taking creative license and playing real fast and loose with that, Dan. But I do think that you can at least look at Deadpool and compare it to that, because that's weirdly our first X-Men movie in the new soft rebooted continuity. So I mean, like, they'll probably want it to at least line up with the Colossus in that, I would figure.
You would hope, right?
Like, that would be hilarious. Now we've got our Colossus. Deadpool has their Colossus. I mean, and maybe Deadpool will make some kind of hilarious, like, meta commentary on, because I mean, all Deadpool is meta stuff, but like meta commentary on, movie franchises that can't get their continuity right between 3 or 5 movies. It's like, we haven't been going.
I think it's much more likely that if that X-Force movie happens, that Deadpool and Colossus will both be in it, given that he was introduced in Deadpool's movie, and Colossus has been a member of the X-Force, at least relatively recently. I think he was on like that Uncanny X-Force team that was a thing before this most recent Marvel relaunch reboot thing.
Spider-Man Sidekick in the comments just said Angel also shouldn't be the age he is. Yep, that's true.
That's right.
There was some... Shades and I speculated at one point, somewhat absurdly and tongue-in-cheekly, knowing this wasn't going to be the case, that maybe he was Warren Worthington's dad or something. But considering the two-dimensional, jerk-face corporate CEO that guy is, that's not really all that likely. And I think we also know that guy's name is Warren Worthington III. But I think. I don't know. Anybody watching that's seen it already, because there are a number of them now. Anybody watching from Europe or Australia has the chance to have seen it by now. So anyway, let's go ahead and go on now to the story of the evening. And the story of the evening is Thor actors revealed. I got several new actor names on the cast list this week, and all of a sudden, a movie that I wasn't as stoked for yet as I'd like to be, I'm becoming much more excited about. Cannot believe Jeff Goldblum's going to be in a Marvel movie. That just gets me all tickled pink. I'm really excited about that. We've got Jeff Goldblum as Grandmaster, Tessa Thompkin as Valkyrie, and a lot of people thought she would probably be there. And Carl Urban as Scourge. Wow, what a good choices all around. This is really exciting to me. I was hoping somebody would do a log on this week. None of us got a chance to do it. So Dan, why don't you go ahead and start, because you're kind of our big resident Thor guy, and I know how much you like Simonson and a lot of the material that this is going to be adapting. What do you think about these casting choices? And remind me who the Grandmaster is, because that's not a character I immediately recall.
It's not a character I know all that much about either. I don't really even remember him from Simonson's run. I think he was introduced in an Avengers comic, and he was I was reading a little bit of the wiki page before he came on, because I was trying to refresh my memory if it was a character I just wasn't remembering the name of. But he apparently was like a part of this cabal of supervillains that the Silver Surfer fought at one point. So he's not like specifically a Thor thing. He's more of a cosmic-y Marvel kind of villainous character, from what I understand or remember. So
yeah,
I'm not
more of an Avengers character. Roy Thomas created him. The whole idea with him is kind of like he's called Grandmaster, but he's more like a game master kind of guy. Like, he's there since the Big Bang of the Marvel Universe, and he just like randomly shows up and is supposed to be like watch really and observe a lot of stuff, but he doesn't. He just like messes with people. There's an issue of Avengers where he shows up while the Avengers are playing basketball and makes them really aggressive while they're playing with each other.
Oh, interesting.
Like he's like Q from TNG, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Oh man, anybody else think that's the best possible casting choice?
Yep.
Well, yeah, if this
that's
pulls from
fantastic. Although John Delancey would be a close second, but that would be typecasting and a little on the nose, right? Like, you'd hate Q to come in and play the Q from Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would imagine that this character, now that you're saying that, Steve, I would imagine if this is going to pull from Planet Hulk at all, he might be the character that gets Hulk involved in the Gladiator fights, if we get to see that in the movie, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Good point. It didn't occur to me that it would draw from Planet Hulk. Like, has that been talked about?
Yeah, a lot of people are speculating that it is, and because they wanted to do a Planet Hulk movie, but the thing with Universal didn't work out. I would imagine Planet Hulk will what we get of Hulk in this movie, I imagine will be pulling from that stuff. We'll probably get a little bit more Banner than is in Planet Hulk, because there's barely any of it in that book. But yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm really excited about specifically Cate Blanchett as Hela, the goddess of death.
Yes, I forgot to mention her. Yeah,
and Scourge as Carl Urban, because there's the great section of Simonson's run. I mean, that whole run's really great, but I loved all the stuff that he did when Thor and Scourge rode together into the depths of hell and had to get the souls of all of the Midgard people back. All that stuff's really great, and Scourge has this epic sacrifice. It's going to be interesting to see. I would imagine Scourge is going to stick around, because we haven't even seen the Enchantress yet. And that's the character that he's most closely associated with in the comics, of course. Unless they make Hela sort of a hybrid between the Enchantress and that character. I mean, that's entirely possible, too. I guess we'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see if they make her Loki's daughter, too, because that's a thing from the comics. So I'm just really excited to see what they do with all this. And whether or not we'll see Surtur, given all of the other stuff that's in the movie already.
Well, and I thought that had already been kind of announced that Surtur was going to be in that, but I might be wrong about that.
I don't know if they confirmed it 100%. I mean, I heavily speculated that would be the case, because the logo's all red and it's Ragnarok, and that's like the big thing in Simonson's run where he shows up. So I think it would be kind of a missed opportunity if they didn't bring him in.
Yeah. It seems like you'd want that. That makes me wonder a couple things, Dan. It's weird that Enchantress hasn't been talked about as being in here anywhere. there was a okay. Somebody help me out because we've watched a lot of TV since then, and I don't remember. There was a character from there was a bad villainous character from Asgard that was brought in Agents of Shield, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't her.
That was Enchantress's sister, Lorelei. The character she's
right.
in Simonson's run, and we were really excited about her when she showed up in that show because we're like, this is a major character from a Thor run of comics. I mean, this is awesome. They didn't really do much with her after that episode where she was introduced, but
the episode was really good. But it was weird, you bring her in, and then Enchantress is not mentioned anywhere. We don't even have her on the cast list for this movie yet. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get her. But announcing 4 actors and major characters all at once, and then leaving that out makes me think she's probably not in this movie.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I guess I saw some people in the comments talking about how there's not going to be a love interest in the movie. They did say that Valkyrie is going to be sort of the replacement love interest for Thor in this movie, which is interesting. I was kind of hoping that they do the Lady Sif Thor relationship eventually, because they kind of flirted with that in the second Thor movie, and I like those two together a lot. But depending on how they do Valkyrie, that could be really cool too. I like that character a lot. So
you would think you'd want Enchantress as kind of maybe your Loki replacement if Loki's not going to be in very many more movies.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, they could always do the thing where Loki becomes a female, like in JMS's run. In that run of Thor comics, for people that haven't read it, he actually takes over Lady Sif's body and his consciousness is implanted in her, and he's just Lady Sif with the Loki horns on, and so it's kind of cool. If they could get Jamie Alexander to play Loki, I think that would actually be pretty cool if they did that eventually.
I'm also with Spider-Man Sidekick when he says we need Beta Ray Bill. I'm surprised there hasn't been any talk about that yet.
Yeah, I'd love to see Beta Ray Bill in these movies. I wouldn't be surprised if down the line we get a casting announcement for him, because in the Planet Hulk animated movie, they replace Silver Surfer's role in that with Beta Ray Bill. So I think he could be introduced in this movie potentially, but I guess we'll have to wait and see, because that would be amazing. I'd love to see a live-action adaptation of Beta Ray Bill. How do you make that work? Like a yellow.
I don't know, but I want to see it attempted. Yeah. I mean, with all the crazy stuff we're doing, Guardians. Look, if you can make us buy Rocket Raccoon, you can make us buy Beta Ray Bill. Now, it's maybe a little bit tougher because he's man-shaped. There would be probably more scenes where you would have to have him interacting directly with actors, but just mo-capture it, and I would also figure that you wouldn't have to CG the entire thing. Like, you motion capture it, and then the face would have to be CGI, and the hands and maybe even feet to some degree, but like you wouldn't be completely replacing an actor necessarily.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the costume would look like if they'd go as kind of goofy, over-the-top comic book accurate, to have him just have a version of Thor's costume on like he does in the comics, even to the point where he has the wing-tipped helmet-looking thing. I think that would be awesome. They probably won't do that.
Yeah, after that, really awesome. And I apologize. I know this has become very quickly the Dan and Cap show. But I also got to say that after that argument in Age of Ultron about how the hammer works and why other people besides Thor aren't worthy enough to hold it, and the kind of philosophical discussion about why you can put it on an elevator and the elevator's not worthy. I really want that other character that can come in and just pick up the hammer and have everybody just free. Now, we had it with Vision, sure, but I don't know. I'd like to see that again in another context. I think that'd be really cool. And I'd also love to see like Iron Man or someone else walk up to him and say, "Are you an elevator?"
Yeah, that would be awesome. Especially since how much of a sequel Captain America: Civil War was to Age of Ultron and Winter Soldier at the same time. It would be interesting for them to make the next Thor movie with 2 major Avengers characters in it a sequel to Age of Ultron for those characters, and continuing their role in that story forward, as well as being a sequel to the second Thor movie. I think that would be really cool.
Dan, Ryan Gross asks, where does Beta Ray Bill actually come from? I forget what realm he's from.
He's an extraterrestrial. I forget what planet he comes from.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
I was sitting here like, wait, was he from another realm? And I didn't think that was right, but I couldn't fit. Yeah. And so, like, is that what all his people look like, or is he also looking grotesque on his planet? Because he's really like, he's really like self-conscious about it.
Yeah. It's the sort of thing where, like Donald Blake in the comics, he's like this frail-looking dude, and then when he hits his cane on the ground, the cane turns into a hammer, and he becomes giant, bulky horseman, Thor-looking guy. He's just kind of a skinny yellow alien otherwise. I would imagine they won't do that because they didn't do the Donald Blake Thor thing in the movies. I mean, it would be cool if they did something like that, but I doubt it. We'll have to see. It would be cool to have a character that the power does affect him in that way, where he's kind of like Steve Rogers, where he's really scrawny, but he's like worthy of the power. That would be kind of cool.
Okay, we've been talking about this for a long time, so that's going to do it for our story of the evening. Let's go on now to some other news items. And Rasco, do you see anything in the comments that people are begging us to talk about?
People are talking about Odin in Thor 3, but that's
okay.
kind of
I was going to skip that because we were talking about Ragnarok, but I was ready to get past that. But we can talk about that for a second. Yeah, and I also was going to skip that just because that was a thing that we talked about a couple weeks ago quite a bit. But yeah, it's unfortunate because if Odin is in that movie, he's got to be recast. And I've heard a lot of people counter that with, well, he's dead.
No, he's not. He's not going to be recast. Marvel's official announcement has Anthony Hopkins as Odin.
Oh, is he? Oh, really? I didn't see that. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Thank you, Steve. I want to thank Steve and Dan for doing all my research for me.
I was under the impression that Anthony Hopkins
Odin, Anthony Hopkins is listed there.
Oh, cool.
I'm sorry, what was that, Dan?
I was under the impression that Anthony Hopkins said he wasn't going to come back for another Thor movie.
Well, it wasn't just an impression. He said that in an interview, but something must have changed his mind. Yeah, might have been money.
At the very end of the article for Marvel, it says both Loki and Thor are back with Anthony Hopkins and Tom Hiddleston, despite both those actors saying they might not be there.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's wonderful because I didn't see how they would continue Loki's story properly without having Odin in the movie, at least as... Loki pretending to be him in any way. Yeah. Like, it wouldn't work, so you kind of need him to be in the movie.
Okay, Rascal, before you throw anything else out, I want to put a pin in a thing real quick and make sure that we don't get to it yet. A lot of people are talking about a thing that has been leaked about DC Rebirth that I really don't want to bring up tonight because I don't want to ruin it for anyone until that book comes out. That reveals the big, crazy, earth-shattering thing that DC Rebirth is going to be introducing, and I just don't want to talk about it yet for anybody that wants to be surprised by it. I wish I had been surprised by it. I wish I hadn't accidentally read the article that revealed it. And I'm seeing people in the comments coming around right out and saying what it is. And I don't want to, for anybody watching this after the fact, I just don't want to ruin it for anybody. So once it actually happens and is in the comic and we're reading it about it, then we can talk about it on the show and on Comic Book Late Night. Rasco, what else do you see?
Okay, so this is from Spider-Man's Sidekick. What do you think of the Star Wars Episode 8 title being called Fall of the Resistance? Allegedly.
That was on my list, so we'll go ahead and talk about that. Now, is that 100% confirmed yet?
It's at the Star Wars Celebration posters, so it's as good as confirmed.
Okay, cool. Well, that sounds like a logical title to me. What do you guys think?
I don't like it.
Okay, cool. Steve, once again, is angry about a thing that I can't bring myself to care about yet. Go ahead, Steve.
Eric and I were talking about this. Me and him basically have the same opinion of this, which is basically, okay, so you're trying to do Empire Strikes Back except for the Resistance cycle. It's the same kind of meaning with the title. The issue is just, by the time you finished Star Wars and New Hope and got into Empire Strikes Back, you knew what the Empire was, you knew what the Rebellion was definitively. When you get to the end of Force Awakens, you have no idea what the Resistance really is, so just from the title, I'm not feeling anything. Like, the movie has to do, the job of the movie is now going to have to be, make me really, really care about the Resistance, and then let them fall. And that, I don't like that that's going to make, that title is going to be that way. Like, I just wish it was more classic Star Warsy of, the title tells you the premise and nothing more.
Okay, Red Letter Antilles claims that it's not true and that it's definitely not the title. But I don't know where he's getting that from. So send us a source if you can in the comments there. Red Letter Antilles. I'm not seeing a leader. I keep doing that. I'm not seeing anybody else.
I just want to say if this is the title, I kind of have the opposite reaction that Steve just mentioned. I think it's really interesting because this will be the second movie in which the bad guys have won. In the first movie, they destroyed the government that supported the resistance, and now if this movie ends with the fall of the resistance, the Imperial forces have won, and we don't do that in Star Wars very often. I think that's very interesting. Having the bad guys win, and it'll be interesting to see where they go with that if that is in fact the title. I'm going to reserve judgment until I see the movie and as to whether or not it's a good title or not. I don't think we can say that say that there's anything inherently wrong with it without knowing what the story of the movie is, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, my reaction is purely from like an excitement standpoint. Like when you get the title The Force Awakens, you can sit there and start theorizing all day about what that means. When you get the title The Fall of the Resistance, there's not much for me to like think about because I don't know anything about the Resistance.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So it's just purely from like the movie is like a year out.
Okay, Red Letter Antilles claims that has been debunked by. Give me a second. Hidalgo, who is someone who does a lot of content for StarWars.com, but I don't know how much stock we can take in either of those things now. So anyway, I guess we'll know soon enough. I'm getting a little bit of echoing on my end. If somebody's not wearing headphones and can put them in, that would be great. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. Michael Keaton is back in talks to play the villain in Spider-Man Homecoming. We had last reported and talked about his dropping out of talks for that, and it's not that it was a rumor either direction. Both of those things were true. He was in, he was out, now he's in again, now he's in final talks. Looks like he's probably actually going to play a villain. I don't want to sit here and speculate again constantly about who he's probably going to play, because we've done that and already played that game, but I am once again super excited if that ends up happening, and cool that it's back on the that it's back on the table.
Yeah, the rumor, I guess, was that Marvel didn't think they'd be able to afford both Downey and Michael Keaton's salaries for this movie, and they found a way.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was reading in most of the articles that I saw when I was reading about it, and I guess that kind of makes sense. I wasn't aware that. I mean, Michael Keaton's a well-known actor, and he's a great actor, but I didn't know that he commanded like Robert Downey Jr. numbers, salary-wise. So that's interesting.
I wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I mean,
that makes me wonder. How much did Birdman cost to make? I'd have to go back and look at those numbers. I didn't. I mean, like RoboCop wasn't a really expensive. I thought he commanded huge numbers. And I don't think they're saying we can't afford both of those actors means that he commands as much as Robert Downey, but it means a lot more than you or I would have expected, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean that's kind of interesting. Yeah, the prevailing rumors are that he's playing either the Vulture or Norman Osborn, so it'll be very interesting to see once they officially announce that who he's playing. I'm excited to know.
Johnny Torch speculates that that Michael Keaton might not have wanted a long-term contract. That's interesting, but I don't know what would have changed his mind. And also, if he's not playing Norman Osborn and it's the Vulture or somebody else like that, a long-term contract, would immediately mean his character doesn't get killed off.
That's true. Yeah.
So who knows?
This is weird. He apparently somebody just put in the chat talking about if he was potentially Uncle Ben, and that sounds weird at first, but Michael Keaton and Marissa Tomei were like a married couple in a movie called The Paper a long time ago. So I don't know if they're even that far age-wise apart.
That's interesting.
That's really interesting.
Spoiler alert, Uncle Ben is the villain of Spider-Man Homecoming.
Well, yeah, because Rasco, that's a really good point. It's not a rumor as far as I know. This is what sucks about talking about this news stuff, is there's a whole lot of, I think I know what's going on. As you guys can tell, my favorite thing to do is to talk about news. But I don't think it's a rumor that he's in talks for the villain specifically. I'm pretty sure Marvel, even on Twitter, has come out and said that.
Yeah. It's unlikely
So
that...
that's the problem with that theory, and that's why what Dan said is officially the funniest thing that has been said. Because jokes are always better when you explain them. Related to that, this is somewhat of a rumor, but there is some talk about Vincent D'Onofrio reprising Kingpin in that movie as well. Dan has got to be over the moon if that ends up actually happening. He and I talked a lot about this in our, or a little bit about this anyway, when we did our epic 2-hour speculation video about Spider-Man: Homecoming, where an hour in we said final thoughts, and then we went for another 50 minutes.
That has officially been debunked, so we're just continuing this train of rumors. D'Onofrio went on Twitter and said that it'd be really cool if I was in Spider-Man, but I haven't been in talks with it, so he started to campaign on Twitter asking Marvel to get him there.
Oh, well, if he wants to do it, then they should make that happen in the next movie, because I would imagine it's already in the, final planning phases, because that movie's supposed to come out next year, right? 2017?
Yeah, Honestly, I was skeptical when I read that because that seems to contradict all the talk we've been hearing upstairs lately of, yeah, we're really kind of separating the two with TV and movies doesn't really care to talk that much to TV yet. And I still think inevitably that's probably going to happen just because of demand, right? Just because of fan outcry and stuff. People are gonna want it, and when enough people shout for it, they're probably gonna put somebody from a Netflix show at least in a Marvel movie. Well, that's sad if that's been debunked, but I'm gonna still call that a thing that's not true. That I'm glad we brought up anyway.
Yeah, I would have been really excited about that if Kingpin was a villain in a Spider-Man movie, because it would be kind of going back to like the roots of the early Spider-Man stuff where he's fighting the mob, and like that was Green Goblin's initial ambition, was to take over all of organized crime in New York City. So having like a crime war between the two of them would have been the best thing ever.
It would be a fun way to tie into Daredevil, since at the end of season 2, Kingpin's still in jail. And he's going to come out with a system, and the whole season there was about how different factions in the city were warring at each other. And if Norman Osborn shows up, or like you get a cameo from Kingpin, you talk about that weird New York City status quo that Spider-Man has to deal with.
Well, something else that I think is important to note, Steve, is that if we did start, especially if we did it now, crossing over TV to movies, you would be in a later status quo from where those TV shows are right now. So then you'd have to fill in, because we still are only probably months, maybe a year after the Battle for New York and Avengers in Jessica Jones and Daredevil season 2, and we're a couple 3 years past that now. In the rest of, I guess we're 4, because we're doing the movies in real time. So if that were to happen, we'd have to decide what the status quo was for the Kingpin, and then we'd have to catch up to him. And that kind of complicated continuity building and keeping track of all that is, I would imagine, a thing that will deter them from wanting to do very much of that at all.
I'm kind of glad that Defenders is so close because of that, because I think Defenders might be like the big turning point for that TV series and for the TV universe, where they could finally like establish some sort of timeline. Because as it stands right now, it's pretty confusing and it's not consistent with the movies. But if Defenders is filming and then Jessica Jones happens after that, maybe they can use that as an excuse to jump ahead in time.
I mean, I feel like Daredevil makes it pretty clear how far after that first season the second season is, and there isn't, as far as I'm aware, that I'm remembering anyway, any talk about anything that happens in anything too far past Avengers. I mean, most of the references are still Avengers and before, Hulk and Harlem and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Rasco, do you see anything else that people are chomping at the bit for us to talk about? And if not, I will go down some other things on my list.
Eric Heine says Paramount allegedly is revoking their lawsuit against Axanar.
Interesting. I'll have to look that up and see what happened with that.
Apparently, Justin Lin got Paramount to drop the lawsuit, and they talked about it not last night, but like a couple days ago at the Star Trek Celebration thing they did.
It's really interesting. So I'm not going to talk about this at length. I did a video on this that a lot of people watched back in December, and I get positive comments on this video. I thought I get some negatives too, and I don't agree with much of what I said in that video now. And I thought about coming back and doing a follow-up at one point, and I decided I just didn't want to get back in the middle of it. But when I learned more things about that lawsuit, Paramount, like them or hate them, really kind of did have a case against Axonar and stuff they were doing. And again, I'm not going to get too far into it, but this is a good thing. In the sense that that case started getting all about when you can use licensed material for anything, whether it's for profit or not. And they started getting into things, and I thought it was bizarre they had to go this far in. Like the whole case that they built around this was, look at all the licensed stuff that's in the fan film, and it's like, well, yeah, that's in the Klingon language and the Klingon likenesses and uniforms and all that stuff is going to be in a lot of Star Trek fan films. Why aren't we suing all of them? They had a really good case. Again, like I've looked into this more, and yeah, they could sue any of them if they wanted to, like regardless of whether or not they're for profit, apparently. But the problem is, with this one, there was a lot of evidence that they were that it was a little bit too much actually for profit, that they were putting too much of the money they were making in their pocket to use for other things later on, and that was really the case. And I don't really, that seems open and shut to me. I don't know why, if that's what it was, if that was the thing, I don't know why they had to go to Klingon language and stuff. If Axonar had lost that lawsuit, it would have opened the floodgates for a lot of things that have been kind of up in the air and sticky, and people don't know if it's kosher or not, to suddenly get sued over. And like just the development of the Klingon language outside of Paramount sanctioned stuff is a thing that's been going on for years and decades now, and like for that to suddenly not be okay would be mind-boggling. What do you do with that? There are like language institutes that teach that language. Are they no longer allowed to do that because they didn't go to Paramount first? At what point is it owned by Paramount, and is it just a language? Yeah, that gets really complex. So I'm kind of glad if that's the case, just so that we don't have to get into those murky waters. But I don't know. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say about it. But if anybody else has an opinion, feel free to jump in.
I don't.
Copyright's confusing.
That's it. Yeah, yes, it is. Like I said on that video, I had a lot of negative comments where people were like, "You don't understand copyright law," and I'm like, "Yes, I don't. I said that in that video."
To be fair, though, even copyright lawyers don't understand copyright law.
That's sure what it kind of sometimes seems like to me. Yeah, I'm stepping on eggshells here because this is not a thing I know a lot about. I'm not pretending like I do. But like I said, when I looked more into that, it started to look like Paramount was maybe kind of in the right on it. At the same time, that movie looks amazing, and I am going to be happy to get to see it if it still gets made. But some of their actors left over some of this stuff. Tony Todd left well before the lawsuit, which just breaks my heart. But he's probably going to be the captain in the new show, at least the first season, if it's an anthology thing, so that's exciting. Okay, do you see anything else there, Rasco? And thanks for bringing that up, whoever did that.
Ned Lee Brick Striker. Have you guys talked about the 5th Transformers yet? Not that it's that interesting.
No, because it's not that interesting. No, I don't know anything about that movie. There's a 5th Transformers, that's what I know.
The title is going to be Last Night, and if we do Knights of Cybertron stuff, I'd be really excited. My issue is just this is Michael Bay Transformers. So you're either going to occupy those names and do nothing, or attempt to do that stuff and do it horribly.
He's not going to attempt to do that. I don't think Michael Bay has even watched the Transformers G1 cartoon.
I thought I heard, though, that sounds like an indisputable fact to me. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. But I thought that Michael Bay wasn't actually directing that one. Am I wrong? He
announced that he was directing this one.
Oh. Okay. Well then, yeah, leave all the really good stuff alone in case somebody else later on actually wants to tackle Transformers. Does Transformers not strike you guys as a thing that after Michael Bay is done with it is ripe for reboot?
Yes. Yes. Oh my God, yes. I don't want murderous Viking. I just don't want that.
And given the insane sheer amount of money those make, if that if that version, like Michael Bay decided to quit making it, and people that were involved with him didn't want to do it, it would get rebooted, right? Paragon's gonna that's a property that still makes them a lot of money. They're gonna want to keep making Transformers movies.
It's also one of the only things that this cinematic universe trend thing could actually work really well with, since most of Transformers literature is centered on things outside of the Autobot-Decepticon war. Like a lot of the most interesting things, usually what you get with Transformers is you get like a string of issues where they fight, and then you get twice the length of those issues where they're not fighting, and you focus on a specific subsect of Transformers dealing with the fallout of what Optimus Prime and Megatron did. So if you wanted to reboot, or even if you didn't, if you wanted to keep the gravy train rolling with that series, you could very easily just adapt one of those outside mainstream Transformers comics and keep going there, and just use one of the characters they haven't touched yet.
This sounds so counterintuitive to anybody that doesn't know anything about Transformers, and that's me with some exceptions. But man, every time I have read an IDW Transformers comic, like no matter what series it's been in, it's always been surprisingly character and idea driven. That stuff is like traditional classic science fiction. We're dealing with nature of humanity stuff through robots. Everybody's got like a really distinct voice and character, and there'll be like 40 characters on a page, and I can't tell them apart by looking at them, but I can by the way they talk. And there's like some really thoughtful, like really deep existential and metaphysical stuff that happens in Transformers, and you wouldn't think that, but it is, and I I don't know, man. I have read some thought-provoking Transformers,
Last Stand of the Wreckers. Last Stand of the Wreckers is one of the greatest works of science fiction literature ever.
What I love about Transformers comics is that they're so there's a lot of really fun banter and stuff, and they're a lot of fun to read, and so they're not long in a bad way. You'll pay like $4 for a Transformers comic, a single issue, and it will take you 45 minutes because there are so many words on a page. Every Transformers comic I've ever read has been like a 3,000-word comic book. I want that on screen. I want the really talky Transformers movie. Could you imagine, Steve, the Transformers movie where you had like 6 Transformers in a room just talking, like having a really deep conversation about the meaning of life? Because that's all Transformers do in those comics. They stand around and they talk about the meaning of life, and they talk about religion, and they talk about politics, and they talk about like hot button societal issues in the Transformers world, and I mean there's like cults and stuff. It's fantastic.
It is. I mean, that's what I would want.
Yeah, I can't believe how religious Transformers gets, or how I don't mean really like talking about their own religions and stuff, and like really thoughtful arguments where you'll have a religious Transformer and an atheist Transformer, and where they're each coming from, and it's like some of the most fair and interesting discussion about that stuff I've seen in comics.
Transformers comics historically are very underappreciated gems. I love them.
They are, yeah. I should read more of them.
If anyone's interested in Transformers and some of the stuff that this movie might pull from, go out and buy the Transformers Classics UK collections. Those are brilliant.
Well, that was fun. Let's talk about the rumored, if not confirmed now, I'm not sure. That's the theme of the evening, is stuff I've got on my list that may or may not be happening. Netflix, direct-to-Netflix Marvel shows, Moon Knight, Ghost Rider, and who's the third one?
Blade.
Blade, thank you. Yeah. Is it Blade? Is it the other one?
Yeah, Blade.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, do we know for sure that's happening yet, or is that still a might be happening thing?
Still a rumor. It's the exact same rumor it's been for 3 years.
Well, it's just weird because it's been cropping up more this week than I've ever seen it.
Yeah, people are reporting it about a lot more. It seems like no matter whether or not it's rumor or not, if you're Marvel and you're going to plan more Netflix shows, those are the 3 characters you pick. I don't know anyone that's got a differing opinion on at least those 3 characters getting Netflix shows.
Yeah. Okay, there's something we were talking about that somebody really wants us to get back to for some reason, and I'm not sure what they're talking about, but Johnny Torch wrote, they moved on, so they're not getting back to that topic no matter what. Tell me what topic it is, and if we didn't fully explore it the way we ought to, I'll consider talking more about whatever it is you're wanting us to talk about, whoever that was. Anyway, okay, so I mean, my opinion remains the same. That all sounds really good. I'd love to see like a Midnight Suns thing or whatever. I think you could have like two like a gritty street level Civil War, Steve. But I could see having like a Defenders and then another team of like close to anti-heroes. If you got like Ghost Rider and Punisher and those guys all on a team together. Where you've got the vigilantes versus the like more than vigilantes.
Yeah, there was a late 2000s Heroes for Hire book that used stuff like Ghost Rider and Blade, where like there was an organization that would contact these heroes separately and make them do things to save people, but it was all just like a manipulative scheme for this person to get something else. If you did that with Defenders and these pseudo Midnight Suns characters, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Real quick, back to the Transformers thing. Johnny Torch, right? Transformers, the Allspark's not dead. I love that. Absolutely hilarious. Anyway, okay. Do you see more things in the chat, Mr. Rasco?
I
got more things on my list, but viewers, see, I'm doing good tonight, guys. I'm like looking at the comments and making you part of the conversation. What do you think, Rasco?
Oh, the Everything Geek, aka Hawkflame. Any thoughts on Hasbro planning on film franchises for their other toy properties? But he doesn't say what toy properties.
Well, they tried G.I. Joe and that failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the thing is about like movie when studios purchase like scripts, they purchase like millions of materials every year. But like materials means IP. They probably have so many things that they have like ideas for potentially someday making, and they probably get really obscure.
Yeah. No, there's lots of that, especially with things like the Hasbro material, which is designed to sell toys first and is auctioned off to studios to make cartoons and movies anyway.
Yeah.
I would just, whatever it is that you adapt, I would just remind people that that your main motivation for making a thing can be to sell toys, and you can still get a good storyteller and do both. You can have your cake and eat it too. I don't mind that your main motivation is making money, because if you get a really good storyteller to come in and take whatever that is, and whatever it is, I mean, you can make a really good. It was talking about a Monopoly movie for a while. No, you could do that. It sounds ridiculous, but that could work. Like I think with most things, yes, this is somewhat of a hyperbolic statement. I've said this 1,000 times. With most things, you can make it work. You just got to make it work. And I think your main motivation can be, let's sell a whole bunch of merchandise, and you will accomplish that goal better by getting people invested in characters, especially if your plan is to try to make a long-running franchise where you're going to do a bunch of sequels. Nobody wants to see sequelitis. They want to see the next chapter of the character that they fell in love with. You can have it both. You can have it both ways.
Yeah.
That's my speech. Dan?
Yes, sir.
Did you like my speech?
I did.
Oh, thanks. Well, other things on my list here. So Supergirl, as we know, is at the CW now, and already we have had an announcement. You guys, this isn't a rumor. I know for sure this is happening. I'm really excited about a thing that I know is going to happen that we can talk about. That we're going to get a giant crossover with probably all 4 of those shows in some way or another. That doesn't surprise me at all. A thing that certainly I could get really excited about and get behind. What I will always say until Supergirl, and I hate to say inevitably, but I sort of feel that way. It's just how I feel right now. Until Supergirl gets bad, or if that happens, I hope that whatever it is, the Supergirl writers get to be the prime people that are spearheading that, no matter what show it actually winds up on. I honestly think what might be really cool for them, and I don't think they would do this, make a TV movie and get it outside of the run of those shows. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I think it'd be really cool to have a giant 2-hour special that would be a huge mega crossover between all 4 of those shows, and don't actually have it between any of those shows. Just air it by itself.
That'd be really cool. We haven't had those kinds of TV shows turned TV movies in a long time.
It's great advertisement for all those shows. If you're following one of them and you're really invested in it, you're gonna want to watch that, especially if they make a big deal out of your character is gonna get to a new stage with this thing, and we will build on it afterwards. And it's not an isolated thing. It's a thing that you could sell on DVD or Blu-ray by itself. Gives you extra things to sell to people. I think that's what they ought to do with it. That's not what they'll do, but they should do that.
Yeah, I'd be
They're
down for
gonna
that.
try and milk it because they're gonna do it like Monday Supergirl, Tuesday Flash, Wednesday Arrow, Thursday Legends, and just a 4-night event.
Other things on my list, Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny say that they're both cool for another X-Files season. Well, you ought to be. I hope so, after you left your last season on a big, giant cliffhanger. I don't know, nobody should be surprised by this news. It would be great if one of them was like, yeah, no, I'm done. Like, let's not leave it like that. Wouldn't it be great if Gillian Anderson, the penultimate scene they're filming, walked up to Chris Carter and was like, you know what, I'm not coming back. So yeah, that seemed like an inevitable thing. I figured we'd get more of that. I just thought I'd throw that out there because I thought it was hilarious. Hey, talk about Patrick Stewart coming back as Professor X in Wolverine 3. I would assume that would be the very last time we would see that happen. There had been some talk right after Days of Future Past of, will we ever see him and Ian McKellen reprise those roles? I think a lot of us thought we would never see either of them come back. That's really exciting. Makes a lot of sense if it's still present day or later Wolverine. A lot of talk about Old Man Logan, of course. Seems like that's definitely happening now. How far forward, though, if it's Old Man Logan, could it be if Professor X is there? He'd have to be like 115.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's Patrick Stewart, right? Like, Patrick Stewart will look exactly the same when he's 150. It's completely realistic.
Well, I didn't say 15. You're right. That would be even better. If he was, wouldn't it be great if he was like half cyborg, just keep him alive, like
Frozen in ice. Captain.
I think it would be cool, like, if they do an adaptation of Old Man Logan. I assume it'll be very loose, like most of the X-Men movies have been with adapting their source material. But I think it would be really cool if they do go with, like, the buddy road trip kind of thing that Hawkeye has with Wolverine in parts of that book, that Professor X kind of replaces Hawkeye, and it's just like, Wolverine and Professor X riding around in an old muscle car in, like, Mad Max Marvel Universe. That would be awesome. I'd love to see that.
And if you've seen Nemesis, you know how much Patrick Stewart loves off-roading, even if it means you have to contrive a stupid dune buggy in space sequence.
Grab your buggies and beer.
but that sounds fantastic, Dan. That I would like to see.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he's in his floaty hover chair coming toward the car that they're gonna ride in, and then it's missing a seat on one side, and that hover chair just goes over the side of the door, and then just it plants itself right in the.
What
right
if
there.
Professor X gets his giant yellow chair from the animated series, and Wolverine's motorcycle sidecar in this movie, and it's
That's awesome!
that would be the coolest.
And it's still complete with the blanket, and the blanket flies off while they're going like 150 miles an hour. They're going 150 miles an hour. Professor X is like, coincidentally, that's my age. So I'm adding a new segment right now, just suddenly to this show. The on the spot live comment of the evening, and the live comment of this will be a thing that I'll just pull out when I see a really great comment that I like. Tonight's comment of the, and you guys feel free to do that sometime too. If one of you comes up with a great one before I do, you can have it. But tonight I'm going to do it. And tonight's is someone calling himself Peter Parker says, "Hey everyone, oh Captain, I'm a big fan. I'm Spider-Man."
That's awesome.
I just love everything about that. That's fantastic. Thanks for that. Anyway, okay, so that was a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about. A couple other huge things, of course. The big shakeup at Warner Brothers, the Harley Quinn movie in development. These are all things that Steve and I talked about in our epic speculation video that we did. That did not halfway through have us saying we are going to our final thoughts, but nevertheless was as longer than the Spider-Man video that Dan and I made. But I wanted to open that up to Dan and Rasco if they have any thoughts about any of those developments. Jeff Johns spearheading now DC Films, which in my opinion is what they should have done in the first place. They're kind of their branch off studio inside of the studio to do the DC films exclusively. And then, of course, as I said, we know that we've got a Harley Quinn movie in development, and there's a whole lot of things changing over there. Wish I was a fly on the wall inside Warner Brothers Studios right now. Anything you guys wanted to say about that?
Yeah, I think it's generally a good sign. It seems to me that at least someone at Warner Brothers and DC has realized that for this universe to be sustainable, they need people to like their movies. And you know, as I know, people are fans of both of those movies, but they're not universally well liked like some of the Marvel movies are. So. Jeff Johns has also said that he's going to inject some hope and optimism into the movies too. So it'll be interesting to see like if we just get this giant tonal shift after Suicide Squad, or if some of the movies stay like that. If anything, I think it means that Zack Snyder is going to have much less pull moving forward, which I think is a good thing too. So, I mean, overall, I think it's good news. The Harley Quinn movie excites me a lot less. It's not a character that I'm in love with in the first place, and from what I've seen in more recent years, she's become something that I like even less than, like, not that I disliked the character at all, I just don't have the attachment to her that a lot of people do. And she looks kind of just like Deadpool in DC now, and I don't like that character at all. So, you know, it's not really a movie for me, but I hope when it's made that people enjoy it, and, you know, we'll go see it.
That movie is supposed to be a kind of roster of major female characters at DC movies, so it would have Harley Quinn in the title, but would have a bunch of other female characters. And what I said to Steve about that was, why don't we not just make it a Birds of Prey movie?
Yeah.
What do you think about all of this, Mr. Rasco?
I think
everything. What do you think about everything, Rasco?
I think that generally, this is a good sign. I think that for me, it's gonna be really telling what Wonder Woman turns out to be, because like that's a thing where it's like I really want to see just getting away from Batman and Superman and that part of the DC universe, and then with Suicide Squad, that's another darker part of the universe. Let's go to what you would assume potentially could be the most, I guess, like a spectacular, like fantastical kind of aspect of the DC universe so far. Like, let's just see what it's like to not be dealing with a super dark character for once, or hope. Like, I would assume that it's not going to be as dark as like the Batman and Superman will help Man of Steel and BVS were. So I don't know. It's gonna be really telling just what Wonder Woman turns out to be like, I guess, for me at least, because I bet with James Wan directing Aquaman, I imagine that movie's really dark also.
Sorry, I just gotta stop for a second. These comments are great. Johnny Torch accidentally in his comment said Snack Snyder instead of Zack Snyder, unless he did it on purpose. And then Red Letter and Tilly said, is no one gonna mention that he said Snack Snyder? and then Johnny Torch wrote #fire Snack Snyder. I just thought that was a wonderful exchange. Anyway, I'm sorry. Did you have anything else to say, Rasco?
Yeah, but I just want to see like different. I just want to see like what their vision for like the greater DC universe is, because like if all the movies are going to be dark, like I'm okay with that if they're good. Like I don't really care if they're dark or what if they want to make them. I don't know, like if they want to make them more stylized moving forward, who knows? But I think that like Wonder Woman's going to be really telling, just to see like, because I think that movie has the possibility of being a very different film from any of the other DC movies that they've made so far in this universe. But if it's not, then that will kind of give us a little bit of like understanding of like, oh no, this is a darker universe. And if that means that they're going to finally have like a direction to go, then that's fine. Like, I just don't know where they're heading right now. I just don't know.
I don't think they.
We're going to go ahead and move on. If you like. I'm sorry, Dan, go ahead.
I was just saying, I don't think they do either. From just by observing what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't. I think, as you said, Dan, this is a step in the right direction, and they may from now on. Is it appropriate that that Jeff Johns is saying hope and optimism when I think it's going to give a lot of at least comic fans that know him some hope and optimism that he's the guy in charge now, and really who they should have put in charge in the first place. Whether you think he's kind of a hit and miss writer like I do or not, his heart's always been in the right place, I think. And he's a guy that knows these characters and appreciates them. And I don't know, I think over Snyder, I mean, I don't think a lot of people disagree with this. He knows what heroism should look like. Throw that out there.
No, I agree, and this has been something that I'm kind of surprised hasn't happened sooner, because he was, one of the people involved in drafting the script for the Green Lantern movie, and that didn't work out. His script ended up getting used, and that movie ended up being a train wreck for Warner Bros. As well. So I think hopefully this will finally, hopefully he's the guy that'll be able to steer the ship in the right direction. I'm hoping, anyway.
5Keeper7 Full says that in the whatever interview it was that he said injecting hope and optimism, he was talking about Rebirth, not the movies. I feel like he said that in both contexts, but maybe not.
I thought so. I mean, I could be wrong. That's entirely possible.
But anybody want to bet me money? I mean, we know for sure that he's the guy in charge. So like that's not a thing that we could speculate about. But would you guys not agree? If that's not the case, would you guys not agree with me that if I were to interview Jeff Johns and ask him this question? Is one of the big, is one of the big things in your plan, one of the big tent poles to inject hope and optimism in the DC movies? He would probably say yes. So yeah.
When he said hope and optimism, he was referring to like the DC brand as a whole, so that includes the movies. Anyway. Okay.
But I think it's a thing he also said during the big Rebirth announcement thing, which, to be fair, was just about Rebirth. But But anyway, yeah, I think we might be quibbling over semantics. I think that seems to be his goal. I don't know if he thinks there wasn't enough of that there. And with respect to anybody that loved Batman v Superman, if he thinks that was a problem in 52, he has to think that's a problem in the movies.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, we are running out of time, and by running out of time, I mean past end time, but we'll go for about 10 more minutes. It's time now for the Ask Us Anything section. You guys can ask us now, get ready for it, anything, within reason. Ask us fun, interesting questions about superhero stuff, comics to screen, comic books, things about our fandoms, whatever you want to, things about the channel, about videos we're working on, any of that stuff goes. And we're going to go ahead and start answering some other questions. Nero Cole, updates on Superhero Rewind. So I want to apologize for the lateness on Captain America Winter Soldier. I have no good excuse. I've simply had way too much home life stuff going on lately to sit down and write a script. Gonna get started on that soon and put it out as soon as I can. I don't even want to promise a date. That's not fair. I'll get it out when I can. I will get out Days of Future Past after that as soon as I can, and that's the update. That's going to be my priority this week. So, again, I apologize for the wait, but that's the thing. Science Fiction Rewind, I'm going to start working on right after I get done with Days of Future Past, and my first thing on the docket for that is Independence Day, ID4, which sounds like the fourth in a franchise that started with just that. So that's my plan for Rewind right now. Also got some rewinds coming up from some of our other compatriots. Waiting for on anime Rewind, the first episode of that from Manos. That should be coming up pretty soon. And Eric is hard at work on Tokusatsu Rewind, which should be coming up in the next week or two. No pressure, Eric. No pressure. But he'll have to get in a room that's close to where his computer is.
For that.
I'm sorry, what, Steve?
He's actually messaging me right now about Anime Rewind, so he's working on that.
About anime or about Tokusatsu?
Or Tokusatsu, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm like, you're talking to Manos right now?
No, Eric.
Rewind should be coming out soon, too. The History Rewind for Julius Caesar. I'm hard at work on that, editing it right now. I'm in the process, so... That was supposed to come out this month, but I'm waiting on the intro from Ian. I want to upload it he's done really good intros for everyone so far, so I want to wait for him to finish mine, and then that will be uploaded afterwards.
Also, quick plug for Ian, and thanks to folks. He had a kind of a campaign running the last few days, trying to get folks to send him the most obscure spacefaring vessels and starships, they can think of for the intro for Science Fiction Rewind, which is going to feature a plethora of different spacefaring vehicles and spaceships. And you can also look forward to my father having a cameo in each episode of that show, doing a voice. And I won't tell you who he's voicing yet, but my dad's going to be part of the intro or outro for that show. So anyway, that's going to be fun. Look forward to that. And thanks to everybody that has given us names of ships and other vessels. And feel free to send Ian other things if you think of it. And so that's what's going on. Yeah, lots of planning, lots of stuff happening. Nothing to post right now, but a lot of cool stuff in the pipeline coming up soon. Rasco, do you see other cool questions?
Yes. William Parcell asks, would you like to see a Star Wars film focusing on a normal soldier or a gray Jedi?
I think that's a wonderful idea, sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the characters from Rogue One are like. I think it's entirely possible that at least some of the characters in that movie are just, everyday soldier rebel people.
Yeah.
The day in the life of a stormtrooper movie.
The Finn prequel.
He forgets to turn on he forgets to push the button where you can actually hear his voice out of the respirator, and he thinks he's having a conversation with someone for 20 minutes. And
an art house picture about a stormtrooper and his stormtrooper prom, and stormtrooper struggles.
I think it would be cool to see a kind of a character piece, and I'm with Dan. Rogue One very well might sort of be one, more than we've had before.
Yeah, potentially.
And a lot of the expanded universe stuff ventures into that place a lot more than the movies ever have so far. No, my dad's not going to be Jarrell, but that would be wonderful.
Are you guys going to watch and review Preacher? Somebody just asked that.
The son becomes the captain, and the captain... Well, anyway. Yeah, Preacher, yeah. I think... Was it Manos who was talking about doing the Primetime Crisis on that? Or somebody was going to do a Crisis vlog series on that.
It's been between Manos, me, and Eric. I think Manos is doing it, but at the very least, I know I'm going to be watching that show, keeping up with it. I think Manos is doing the logs, though.
I should also mention that Eric's doing a bunch of stuff right now, so I don't know when he'll get to this, but he's been talking about doing Powers, possibly season by season, if not episode to episode. We haven't done anything on that show yet because that's been on PS4 exclusively, but you can, I think, buy the first season now. So at some point, at least somebody on the channel will probably cover that. I actually am paying for PlayStation Live now, so I can watch that show. I probably should watch that show.
Oh, yeah. I forgot we could do that on PlayStation 4. They have
I read that too. I looked at it yesterday. I was looking at free games and stuff, and it was watch Powers, and I was like, oh, I should watch Powers. And I was surprised that show has costumes.
Yeah, I think it does. I haven't watched it or read the comics yet, but it looks good.
Boy, just some of the comments that you walk into. Anyway, do you see anything else, Frasco?
DVid22, will Geekvolution review Birdman, the Michael Keaton movie?
Half of that.
Oh wait, what did you say?
I only caught half of that. Can you repeat the question?
Oh, he was asking if Geekvolution will review Birdman, the Michael Keaton movie.
I very likely will at some point. I think it would be fun to do that on Superhero Rewind, even though it's not really a superhero movie, and talk a lot, not exclusively, because obviously I would, do a bit of a dissection of the story, but talk about the commentary on what superhero movies have done to our culture and stuff, because there is a surprising amount of that there, and I think it would be fun to talk about that. I do think it's funny that they reference Robert Downey there, and that Michael Keaton's character gets kind of irritated about how well Robert Downey's doing, and that he's this washed out actor. But now superhero movies are cool, even though you couldn't have had that without Batman, and Birdman is the analog there. So yeah, that's fun. Anyway, other questions. Other questions. Oh, Carl Maxey. Hey, Cap, when we do the Deadpool movie commentary? I don't know. I got to find somebody that wants to do that with me. Because we have a lot of people on our channel that really detest Deadpool, and I find Deadpool less detestable than I ever used to. So it has gotten to a point that's my big resounding rallying cry for my love of Deadpool. He's less detestable to me than he used to be. I'm probably one of the people on the channel that likes him the most now. But that is.
Doesn't Lo really like that movie?
Yeah, Slow does really like that movie, but the problem is that would make me the Deadpool expert on that commentary, and I don't feel comfortable with that at all. I'd kind of like to find somebody that knows it better than me, and maybe have Lo there too. I mean, that's totally cool. Nothing against Lo. I mean, that'd be a lot of fun to watch it together. And if no one cares about us actually knowing anything, well, I know things about that character, but I just don't know it as well as other people do. Maybe I'll reread some classics before I do that commentary. But the more I'm thinking about it, Dan, I do think doing that with Lo would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Dylan the Villain, isn't a 60s Batman the animated movie coming out this year? Supposed to be. I did a log on that last year. There were supposed to be 2 of them, and there were going to be, I guess, the voice work was going to happen back to back. And I haven't heard anything about that since then, but I hope that is still happening.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now everybody in the comments. And now everybody in the comments is telling me that they'll all do the Deadpool commentary with me. We'll have like 80 people in the Deadpool commentary. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What was that, Rasco?
We haven't talked about the new Ghostbusters trailer.
Does anybody want to talk about that?
It looks better than the first one, but I still think it looks pretty bad.
Yep, I agree.
I'm waiting for comedies to be filmed like regular movies again. Like, I'm ready for comedies to actually look like they're movies.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to that. Because there's been lots of stuff about its production. Apparently, everyone involved doesn't like the movie either. So Sony's already getting ready for damage control with that. I have no interest in it, really.
Oh my god. See, like, it's just, I don't know. I don't even I'm not even like a huge fan of Ghostbusters. I just don't like seeing that happen to other like franchises. Like, if it was my franchise, I would cry. So I feel for those people.
All I'll say is that it still doesn't look like my kind of movie. Like, however I feel about rebooting Ghostbusters, doing it the way they're doing it, it just doesn't. Those kind of comedies don't get me excited, and it just looks like the kind of comedy I don't like. So,
you know,
I don't know.
It's weird. It feels like movies like Ghostbusters and all of those movies that star those like people like Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig and stuff. Like, they almost all feel like Saturday Night Live parodies of franchises. Like, Ghostbusters in particular looks like a Saturday Night Live like riff on Ghostbusters.
It's such a weird thrown together movie too, because Ghostbusters has been going through potential reboots, remakes, third movies for years now, and apparently with this movie, it's not even what the original director pitched either. Like, it's a completely different concept, and what they're essentially doing is like rewriting scenes on the day just based on what cast members are there. So it seems like it's going to be a really awkwardly put together movie, and it might have that sketch feel just because the movie might not be a cohesive narrative. It might just be a collection of moments.
I think it's really interesting that you say that, Rasco. I hadn't really thought about it that way because the original Ghostbusters was, I mean, not exactly the same kind of thing, but I mean, Dan Aykroyd, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but like, you're talking about like a major Saturday Night Live actor that does a comedy movie. So yeah, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun you bring that up. That it's like history repeating itself, but with the same thing, and so it looks to a lot of people like it's going to be what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, what were we gonna say?
I was just gonna say like that. Yeah, it's like Ghostbusters looks like a movie. This looks like a skit that you'd see on Saturday Night Live. Like, on SNL, sometimes they have like those fake commercials, and it's just like that like boring, bland lighting comedy, flat angle, like minimalistic, like doing as like you don't even need a director there. Like, you could probably just kind of like have the set members figure out how to shoot the scenes. Like, that's just what that movie looks like to me. I don't know. Who am I?
Let's do 2 more questions, Rasco.
Ned Lee Brick Striker. Here's a question. How did other members besides Cap become a part of the channel?
Well, I'll let each of these guys, in 60 seconds or less, tell you how they became panelists here on Geekvolution. Why don't you start, Dan?
Well, back in my day, there was a show called Who Reviews the Reviewers, and in season 1 of that show, I came in 5th place, and then after I was eliminated, Captain Logan invited me to be on the old Comic Book Late Night where he would interview people, and we hit it off and ended up making videos, and yeah, I ended up becoming more and more involved the more videos we did, because we were having a good time doing those. So yeah.
Steve, how did you get involved? Remind me, Steve. I don't know how you got here, man. I have no idea.
Okay, so back in November of 2012, we did a Batman Hush review, which is something that I messaged Cap about every now and then. Back when I was just a viewer on the channel, I found you guys through Eric, and I kept messaging you here and there, or like commenting yada yada yada. And then at some point, I just asked you to do a message, say, "Hey, do you want to do a comic review together?" And we kept going through like a list of things, and eventually settled on Batman Hush. And then we did that in November of 2012. And then after that, I sporadically did Batman stuff with you, including Lonely Place of Dying, which is one of my favorite Batman stories. And
I love how you're addressing this to me like, hey, Kat, here's how it happened. Like, I'm getting an education.
Lonely Place of Dying, and then at one point, Eric couldn't make it for the first Arrow Season 3 discussion, so you asked me to fill in because I was watching it, and then from there I just became a regular.
I love how Johnny Torch just left a message that 5th place, Dan is the Daughtry of Geekvolution. What's great about that comment is that the same is also true of Rasco.
Well, no, it's kind of true because I tied for 5th place.
It's even worse.
So Kai's a Daughtry also. But I guess it was a year and like 3 months or so ago. I auditioned for Who Reviews the Reviewers Season 4 and got eliminated in the 5th round, and then messaged Cap, and then he messaged me, and then he found clips of me on the internet saving people with my spider abilities, and then he came to my house and he recruited me for Geekvolution.
I made him this really cool suit too, that like where the eyes move and stuff,
yeah,
so that he can like see better. Yeah. Rasco has really bad eyesight because of that polar bear that bit him and gave him his superpowers.
What?
Rasco is Rasco is the late night Avenger bipolar bear. That's a tip. So what happened with Rasco, since he's decided to be facetious, is he got eliminated, and then he sent me a comment, or he sent me a really wonderful message that was not in the least sarcastic. And he told me how much he enjoyed being in the contest, and I was worried he was going to get mad because he had what I thought was the best video that round, and he got voted off on kind of a technicality, and he didn't get voted off. It was his team got voted off, and then we had to save one, and in my opinion we didn't save the right person, but anyway, and then what happened was no offense to that person, Rasco had the best video that week, and then what happened was I had been looking for an intern on the channel to help us out with stuff, which is funny because now I don't have the intern to help me with that stuff because Rasco is a full-fledged. So all the stuff, Rasco, that I had you doing, it's just not getting done right now. That's unfortunate. I should probably do something about that. Anyway, so I got flash vlogs from Rasco, and now I'm not getting playlists put together. Okay. But anyway, so he sent me this wonderful note, and I was going to open that up to the public, and I decided, no, I'm just going to offer it to Rasco, and he graciously agreed to come on, and has been our chat moderator ever since, and ended up as one of the 7 when we united the 7. And yeah, I love your history, Rasco. I think your history is my favorite of the things that I wrote into this.
Great origin story.
It's a good origin story. Yeah, I mean, your made up one's pretty good too, but. Oh, I love this question. Ryan Gross, who would your ideal guest on the channel be? Ooh, good stuff. Realistic or not realistic, I guess would be my question. Let's go around and from each of us, a person that you would really love to see if you could come guest on 0 Hour or just do a interview with. By the way, I'm planning on doing more of these. We haven't had a guest or an interviewee in a long time, but I talked to a couple people at Planet Comic-Con this weekend that seemed interested. We may have Freddie Williams on the show at some point. He was the artist for Ninja Turtles, Batman, and I like his art a lot. He's done a lot of other stuff for DC. And the current, his name is escaping me right now. I hate that. The current artist on Moon Knight was really interested in being on the show. So we might be talking to one or both of those guys at some point. Steve, who is your ideal creator, actor, producer, writer, anything that if we if all of a sudden we had a lot more clout than we have, who would you like to see on the show?
So completely unrealistic, would never happen. Guest on the show for me would be Joss Whedon, because I love Joss Whedon. He's my favorite writer. I love everything that he's ever done. Age of Ultron to me is the greatest comic book film of all time. Angel's my favorite TV show of all time. I would love to talk to Joss Whedon even for 5 minutes. Realistically, if I could get someone on the show, I would love to talk to the Nerd Writer. I think having a conversation with him about superheroes and media analysis and philosophy in just like standard entertainment would be really interesting.
Dan, do you have an answer?
My unrealistic answer is Steve Ditko, because Steve Ditko does not make public appearances or interviews. Like, there are very few photographs of the guy that exist, and I'd really like to hear his side of the story as to how Spider-Man was created and what sort of influence he felt like he had on the character, because he has very different views than Stan Lee does in a lot of things, and I would like to know what led to him leaving the book. It's always speculated that the reason Steve Ditko left was because him and Stan Lee had an argument as to who the Green Goblin was going to be. Steve Ditko supposedly wanted the Green Goblin to be a random person because he thought it would be more realistic than having someone who was intimately already connected with Peter's life be the Goblin. And Stan Lee thought that having it be someone that Peter knew would make for a better dramatic story, so they parted ways creatively, and that's been disputed over the years. So I would like to know if that's actually true and what the real circumstances of that are. Realistic guest? I don't know. I think Peter David's a guy that does a lot of interviews with smaller venues and stuff because he's a really nice guy, and I think talking to him would be really awesome because he's one of my favorite comic book writers. I love his Hulk run and pretty much anything he's done. What little he's done of 616 Spider-Man is really good. His run on Spectacular from the 80s is really good. So yeah, I'd like to talk to him. That'd be awesome.
And he's back doing 29, and it's great. That was, by the way, my realistic answer, and is, well, one of mine. And Dan is not at all outside of the possibility, the realm of possibility. In fact, I have been working on getting him on the channel. Cool. I have a direct connection to Peter David, and I don't want to give anybody's hopes up, but that is actually a real possibility. About 6 months ago, I put my feelers out trying to get him on, and nothing's come of it yet, but it's definitely possible.
Oh, very cool. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Rasco.
I think so. This is a person that he's constantly like being talked about on the internet because he always says things that like apparently are controversial. But Max Landis.
Max Landis on Geekvolution.
Is a person that I would.
I love Max Landis.
What a great idea.
I would love to talk to him because one. Geekvolution is controversy is always great, he's a guy that knows a lot of things and he's frustrated with a lot of things in the movie industry, and I would love to just like have him here so we could talk to him and ask him questions because he knows things and he's worked on a lot of things that he's not even allowed to necessarily say some of the projects that he's worked on, but I would just love to talk to Max Landis about like the industry and everything like that, and he always goes on like He's appeared on so many different podcasts and shows and things like that. So like it's technically possible, but it's unlikely. But that would be really cool. Just to talk to Max Landis. Um,
A lot of good ideas here in the comments. Dylan the Villain says Amanda Connor. She was actually at Planet Comic Con this weekend and was one of the, like, 7 writers or artists that when I walked up to their table weren't there, were at panels, and I was never able to come back and find again. I actually had planned on talking to Amanda Connor and seeing if maybe I could get her interested in coming on the show, and that did not happen. There were a few other people like that as well. Grr, that I didn't get to talk to, but I think that would be really neat and is certainly a possibility. One of my big ones is, and this might not mean anything to a lot of people, by the way, Greg Smallwood. Smallwood is the guy working on Moon Knight. Thanks a lot, Red Litter Antilles. I just couldn't come up with it on the spot. I was gonna say I would really like to talk to what's his name? Chuck. Help me out, Steve. The guy that does the Voyager reviews.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I'm blanking on his name too.
SF Debris. We're talking a lot of different things right now, and for some reason his name didn't come to my head. Yeah, SF Debris is one of my big inspirations and one of the reasons that I started this whole thing, and is another person that I have a direct contact with and could probably butter up and get on the show at some point. I have heard through a third party that SF Debris has watched Superhero Rewind, which is like just hits me right here. So I hope at some point I'll get to talk to him. A friend of mine who knows him directly and has talked to me on the phone, and I don't have direct confirmation of this, but has claimed that that SF Debris to him called Superhero Rewind a masterclass on creative writing. And if he actually said that, that's like the nicest thing anybody's ever said about me to someone else. But I hope that at some point I can actually get him on the show. So that's a big person I like to get. Peter David, of course, is someone I like to have. An unrealistic thing, Ron Moore or Brandon Braga, or the guy who who was the showrunner for Enterprise Season 4. Bunch of Star Trek guys that I really like to talk to, most certainly. I like to talk to Brian Fuller, but, you know, the man works 25 hours a day, so I bet he doesn't do interviews at all.
Grant Morrison would be awesome to have on the show.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the number of comic writers I like to talk to is endless.
Oh, yeah.
DC Marvel fan guy, Captain Logan, you should get Katie Lotz on the channel. I couldn't even get an interview with Katie Lotz when I saw her. That was a bummer. But yes, of course, that would be wonderful. Really tough to get media industry people on shows like this without big press credentials. Which, if I was a journalist, I could work on getting. I just don't consider myself a journalist, and I'm a writer first. So if my aspirations were different, I would work harder on that. DC Marvel fan guy, could you get Dan Slott on the show? That is actually not an impossible catch. I know Dan Slott has left comments on Dan's videos, and I think he's even talked to Steve directly. I forget.
I haven't talked to Dan Slott. I've talked to Zack Snyder. Not Zack, Scott Snyder.
Scott Snyder. Not Snack Snyder. You've not talked to Snack Snyder.
No, if I talked to Zack Snyder, like he would have me banned for life and maybe charged with some sort of verbal assault.
Scott Snyder also might not be a complete impossibility.
Scott Snyder's a really nice guy and is really good about doing that kind of stuff. I bet you'd be able to get him to appear. That would be awesome.
He's told me stuff about All-Star Batman through like Twitter and stuff, but I haven't been able to like just sit down and say, hey, can you spare an hour and do an interview?
See, what I'd love is if we could get him on 0 Hour. What I really want to do is start occasionally getting comic industry folks to come on, and of course we would give them time to hawk things, and we would ask them some direct questions about the career. We would have an interview portion probably, but what I'd like to do for the most part is just have them be part of the panel and talk about the stuff we're talking about that week.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Well, thanks for that question. That was really fun. And we're going to go ahead and end off today, I think. Let's go ahead and get the answer to the trivia question. I'm going to guess, Rasco, that nobody left anything.
Well, it's kind of misspelled, but yes, Spider-Man's sidekick put blah 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 blah. He didn't get the correct amount of blahs, but he got the name pretty much.
But he came up with blah 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 blah. Fantastic. No, it has to be blah 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 because he is because the idea is that he is somebody who's really nervous and can't think of words, and so it's got to be the same number of syllables as Mojo Jojo. So he is blah 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 blah. Other things you could have said include the doot to doot to doot doos, ha cha cha cha, blah 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 blah. That was the one that you said. Hada wada, Tansa Mancha, Ojo Tango, Pappy Wappy, Wako Smacko, Kaching Kaching, Rolla Ova, and Rocco Sacco. Those were all possible answers. And that was weird. Is there a car honking at Steve?
No, that would have been on vibrate.
Everybody, thanks always for watching Geekvolution 0 Hour. The fun never stops here on Sunday nights. We will see you again next Sunday at 8 p.m. But this time, instead of a 0 Hour, we'll be bringing you the X-Men Apocalypse spoiler cast. So look forward to that. And if I can nab him, I'll have Shades of Night on that show, although it might be an impossible hour for him, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But hopefully I can have him somewhere talking about that movie at least a little bit. Because I'm very interested to see what his thoughts are, and we usually try to have Shades on the X-Men stuff. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan, and this was Dan Torrey.
Good night, everyone.
Jackson Rasco.
Tweet Max Landis, tell him we want him on the show.
Beware the Steve Baxty.
Good night, everybody.
And once again, I was Captain Logan saying good night. Good night.